just cover briefly with you. Yesterday, there was some examination of, the evidence field, and you being a lawyer, and Mr. Beckworth being a lawyer, and I'll visit about his duties and responsibilities. But with regard to after this disaster occurred in the Hill Country, can you tell us from the very day, were there government officials?
Yes, some started coming in by helicopter as early as 10 or 10:30 in the morning on July 4th.
Was the Texas Department of Public Safety there?
Yes, they were.
And just from your general knowledge, Texas Department of Public Safety, do they have the exclusive right to designate any areas as a scene that they want to investigate?
Yes.
Would there be any complaint or objection by that from you or anyone else at Camp Mystic?
Not at all.
As a matter of fact, did the DPS ever, from July 4th and going forward, say we do not approve of any remediation of any of the Tatum folks that are out there, or the volunteer workers who have been vetted and who have come out to the scene to assist? Did they do any of that?
No, they never did.
Would they have the right to do it?
Absolutely, we'd fully cooperate. And in fact, they were out there for at least 7 months. There was always a DPS officer there during the daytime and the nighttime, 24/7 at our camp property.
Okay.
We're very grateful for that.
In addition to the DPS, were there local authorities that came to the camp?
Yes.
What about from the state government? Were there state officials that actually came to the camp?
Yes, there were.
Did Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, did he come to the camp?
Yes, he did.
Was he shown around? Tell me what you did.
Yes, he was there for about a couple hours, and when he arrived, he met with me and my brother Edward, I believe my brother Richard, some of our wives, and some, I think maybe possibly some other Tatum officials, but we walked him around the whole camp area that he wanted to see and answered all his questions.
At any time of the Tatum officials, the Texas Department of Public Safety, the game warden, all of the state officials that were there, did you cooperate with them fully at all times?
Yes, sir.
Did anyone from the lieutenant governor, from the DPS, the Texas Rangers, anyone whatsoever say, you know what, we don't want this remediation work going on. We don't want any type of work going on because we believe that this scene needs to be roped off and everything needs to be stopped. They can't do it.
No, they never said anything to that effect.
Okay. Texas Rangers, were they out there after July 4th?
I believe some came out. It's possible.
Did you have any communications with them at that time?
I probably did.
Okay. Yesterday, did you communicate with a Texas Ranger?
Yesterday and the day before, I introduced myself to one of the lead Texas Rangers.
With regard to the March 4th and 5th, you remember Mr. Beckworth was showing pictures of, we were at the judges, we had a conference, and then after that, there was a meeting. You remember him asking you about that?
Yes, I do.
Were there two different orders that were entered in this case, from your knowledge?
Yes, to my knowledge, yes, sir.
Okay. So what Mr. Beckworth showed you or talked to you about was March 4th, right?
Yes.
Did he talk to you about March the 5th and the order that was ultimately entered?
No, he never mentioned March 5th.
Let's go over the March 4th pronouncement. And I'll just read from the court's record. The March 4th pronouncement that Mr. Beckworth was talking about was our judge granting a temporary injunction, and that temporary injunction would include Twins 1, Twins 2, Bubble In, Bug House, Look In, hangout, and jumble house cabins. In addition, Your Honor granted temporary injunction regarding the office building, rec hall, the commissary building, including the newly constructed exterior staircase on the commissary, ensuring that existing water lines and communication systems and structural evaluations remain in their current state for forensic inspection. Remember that?
Yes, that's my recollection.
Do you have any disagreement with that?
No, sir.
And as a matter of fact, with regard to the order that was ultimately entered, I want to go over that with you. All right? There were additional cabins, correct, that were included
Correct.
on the order that was ultimately entered, right?
Right.
And that's what I want to visit with you about with the court. Or are there structures that are currently under the court's temporary injunction relating to persons who live in those cabins or homes?
Yes, there are.
Let's begin with Betsy and Craig Althaus, A-L-T-H-A-U-S. Where were they living?
They were living in a residence called Sugar Shack.
And Sugar Shack is included in the map of the court's March 5th order, is that right?
That's correct.
And as a result of that, what did Craig and Betsy do?
That they complied and moved out of their residence.
Where are they living right now?
Betsy and Craig are living in a couple different optional buildings. They're living in a cabin at Cypress Lake currently, and also they commute to Fredericksburg, a home that they own there. It's about an hour drive one way.
How old is Craig?
Craig is about 68,
How old is Betsy?
65.
And they complied with the court's order, moved out their belongings the next day?
Yes, I
March
believe
the
so.
6th or March the 7th? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about uptight. What is uptight, which is included in the mapping of the order?
Uptight is above our garage at Guadalupe River Camp, and it is a building we use for staff housing.
And did it receive any damage?
No damage from the flood.
And or is staff housing, when you talk about staff housing, personnel who would be there at the camp, who would be working at the camp, commuting back and forth to the camp?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Next, I want to visit with you about a place called Ranch House. What is Ranch House?
Ranch House is the house that flooded where my brother Edward and my sister-in-law Mary Liz and their 4 boys reside.
Okay. With regard to Ranch House, at the time, is there an intention that Mary Liz and Edward would desire to move back into that residence?
Yes, they had a hope to move back in there.
Let's go next to the tennis courts. And we're talking about the tennis courts. Those are the tennis courts towards Cypress Lake, closest to Cypress Lake. Did the tennis courts undertake any type of water damage or anything that they could not be utilized today or in the future?
No, they took on about 4 feet of flood waters, but no damage.
Okay. Within that map, are there fuel tanks that are located within the boundary of the map attached to the judge's order?
Yes,
And what are those fuel tanks utilized for?
they're used for tractors and camp vehicles and things we need on the camp property.
Okay. Under the court's current order, they would be not on the Cypress Lake side or not be able to have access to those?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's talk about then Ag's Attic. Is Ag's Attic any type of facility where someone would live or reside?
It is not. It's like our camp library that sustained flood damage. We're just hoping to move some things inside there.
Okay.
It's not essential.
In addition to that, there are some homes, I want to, I want to make sure I get these correct. Casa Arroyo, Heartbreak Hotel, and Snugly Duckling. What are those residences?
Those are our male staff houses. It is an all-girls camp, but we do need male staff for a lot of things, and we have some staff planning to come to help us for the health and safety of the girls at Camp Mystic Cypress Lake this summer. And you'd have to access the Camp Mystic Guadalupe River side to get to those staff houses.
Okay. And currently, under the current mapping that has been presented to the court, those you would not be able to have access to.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other residences that I have not covered that are within the mapping that's in the court order currently?
I just thought I'd mention the senior hill cabins. There were about 8 that did not sustain flood damage that were part of the new order on March 5th. And as far as residences, my mother, Tweety, was ready to move into a restored guest house called Sleepover that's right by the Cypress Lake tennis courts. And she was going to move out a Band-Aid box.
What's Band-Aid box?
That's the Camp Mystic Cypress Lake Infirmary that she had been living in since the flood. And we would need it for our nurses this summer. So she was hoping to move in as Sleepover, but complied with the order and it's not moved in. And she's 73 years old.
Any other facilities that are on the property that are used for residences or that would be utilized for the purposes of nursing, for the purposes of counseling for campers in the future?
Yes, some of our cooks might live in a building that wasn't part of the March 4th order called Granny's House. It was being restored, and a building called Squeeze In. Some of our 2 new staff members, our licensed mental counselor and her husband, will be living in Squeeze In and helping us this summer.
All right. So those are the residences that are currently in the mapping that's attached to the judge's orders that you would request to be utilized at some point in the near future.
Yes.
So let's move forward then toward there was a mention by Mr. Beckworth yesterday back and forth about whether he had legal counsel September or November or December. You heard that kind of communication from him yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Okay, regardless of when Mr. Beckworth decided to come to the camp, from your observation, has Mr. Beckworth presented any experts up through March 4th before the court entered this temporary restraining order and injunction?
I don't believe he's brought any experts out.
Now let me move to Michael Watts, who Mr. Beckworth identified yesterday and was talking about concerning representation of Camp Mystic in this case. He showed a bulletin or an email from Mr. Watts to lawyers regarding issues relating to litigation against camps in the Hill Country, correct?
Yes, I believe it was sometime in July, maybe.
Okay. When is the first time that you ever met Michael Watts?
I called him on August 25th, thereabouts, for the first time.
So, over a month and a half after Mr. Watts was talking to attorneys in his trial association, correct?
I believe so.
And in that communication, month and a half before Mr. Watts ever met you or met the family, Mr. Watts, you understand, he lives in the Hill Country as well, right?
I learned that later, yes.
And there was a discussion in there, and there's been discussion during this hearing about the necessity of sirens and siren systems for the South Fork of the Guadalupe River, for the North Fork of the Guadalupe River, and a lot of the waterways in the hill country. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
Tell us, how long has Dick Eastland, your deceased father, how long has he been involved in advocating a request for government and government funding for siren systems in the areas where a number of these camps are located?
He's been obsessed by the weather his whole 50 years of working in camp, and probably the last 2 or 3 decades he had been working very hard to get better rain gauges that were working properly, and also siren systems, especially in his at least 2 terms, his involvement on the board of UGRA, Upper Guadalupe River Authority, and Kerrville.
Was there a request to get funding to get this done?
Yes, I believe there were several requests made through the years.
And through the years and the request to get it done, was it done by any of these authorities before July the 4th, 2025?
No, I believe they were denied by the state on several occasions. They were never installed. They were never installed before July 4th.
And do you believe, sitting here today, Mr. Eastland, with the members in the surrounding community that suffered through this tragedy in that area, that sirens would have given more time, especially people along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River, to move, to evacuate, to do something other than have this horrific water come upon?
Yes, I do.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, please.
All right.
Trying to move efficiently, Mr. Eastland. Good morning. You just testified about the rangers and other people being on the property in the day or so after this flood event, correct?
That's correct.
What about OSHA? Were they there?
I don't remember OSHA being there.
Well, you are a lawyer.
That's correct.
You had 2 children who were paid counselors that were killed that morning, correct?
Correct.
In your legal papers, you've invoked the workers' compensation potential bar against part of their claims, correct?
We have invoked workers' compensation based on the recommendation of our insurance.
Have you, sorry, you finished?
Yes.
Have you ever notified OSHA that 2, quote, employees of your camp were killed?
I have not.
Do you have an obligation to do that?
I don't know.
Has an OSHA investigator been notified to come out and look at what happened there?
I don't know. Maybe some other official did that.
Well, that's your responsibility, isn't it? As an employer?
I don't know that.
Isn't that something you should know as the camp's lawyer and executive officer or director?
I'm not sure. Maybe so.
Now, we just heard that release discussion about somebody putting that up. The fact remains there's nothing, no matter who created that document, nobody talks about evidence preservation in that, correct?
That's probably true.
And you, as the lawyer who was aware of your duty to preserve evidence the moment you found out a child was dead, you never put up any signs or notice anywhere that said we have a duty to preserve evidence at any point in time, did you?
If any official would have made recommendations, we would have complied.
You did not put up any notices, correct?
The buildings that we knew were very important, we made sure that they were not, there was nothing done to them. And so I feel like we complied as best we could with all these wonderful officials coming out to just help us with a natural disaster.
Object non-responsive.
Same.
What I asked you was, did you put up any notices or provide any notices to anyone about a duty to preserve evidence?
We did put notices up around Twins 1 and Twins 2 in Bubble Inn. Yes, sir.
You put a sign up that said contractors do not enter.
That's correct.
However, all the beds and bed frames were removed. True?
They were removed, not by us, but yes, they were.
So for example, if Mr. Yankee or Junkie comes in here today and talks about what happened in the cabin he was in with bed frames, those bed frames were removed and we don't have them, do we?
That's correct. I believe it was for the health and safety of everything that was going on. Yes, sir.
You mentioned your mother Tweety and being over in Sleepover or Band-Aid House, but your mom had a house and residence here in Austin on Scenic Drive, right?
That's correct.
So she chose to sell that and take the money from that sale, right?
She got a lot of death threats, and a lot of people came to her house. She got very scared about living there again. Yes, sir.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
What I asked you was she had a residence here in Austin, correct?
That's correct.
She shared with your father.
Yes.
She had a place to live and she chose to sell it, true?
Yes, because she felt unsafe. Yes, sir.
Now, you mentioned the UGRA. Your father was a board member appointed to the UGRA, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to show you Plaintiff's Exhibit 90. While we're looking for this, you understand that the UGRA is the Upper Guadalupe River Authority, correct?
That's correct.
And you understand that that was an organization that dealt with many things, including flood issues in Kerr County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your dad was a longtime board member. He, in fact, served 2 terms, correct?
That's correct.
And your dad had specialized knowledge about the area and especially flood-related issues as a member of that board, correct?
Correct.
On May 28, 2025, on the right-hand side, you'll see that your father was in attendance at a regular meeting of the UGRA board that day, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Your dad, in fact, was the secretary or the treasurer, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, please back out of that, Mr. Medina. In that meeting and in other ones that would follow, there were discussions about a flood mitigation plan, correct?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, where are the records that your father kept about all his notes and meetings with the UGRA?
I believe they had a lot of flood damage, but we still have them and they're available for you to look at anytime.
Where are they?
They're at a storage unit at Cypress Lake campus.
On the Cypress Lake campus?
Yes, sir.
And where were they kept prior to that time?
I don't know where my dad kept all his documents. I'm just saying they could be there.
Oh, it could be there. For a minute, you told me they were there for me to look at. You don't actually know.
I don't actually know.
Okay. Who does know?
My dad.
Well, your dad's no longer here, and I'm sorry for that, but he's not here, right?
Exactly.
So
Yes, sir.
where are the documents?
They could be scanned. They could be in those filing cabinets that were sustained 8 feet of flood damage in our office that was up on a high hill. But they're there for you to look at anytime, Mr. Beckworth.
Were they in the office?
They sure could have been.
Well, you know, Mr. Ferguson sent that letter on July 11th that you got, and in addition to talking about all evidence, it talked about data, right?
Correct.
One of the most important pieces of data that we could have in this case is knowledge that your father got as a board member of the UGRA, correct?
Correct.
What efforts have you or anyone associated with Camp Mystic made to locate those documents and preserve them for all of us, including the Rangers, to look at?
We've gotten a lot of things out of his office to dry out, and we've preserved things on the server. Like I said, you can look at them anytime. And we've also done an open records request to UGRA, just like maybe you have.
The answer is you do not know whether these documents have been preserved, correct?
Your Honor, that misstates his testimony.
I can re-ask you.
Okay,
Go ahead, you need to, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, that question doesn't ask him about previous testimony, it's just a new question, so overruled.
Thank you. I'll rephrase it anyway. To be clear, you have not looked for these specific documents, true?
For these specific documents, we've done a public records request, but we have not for those.
About your
But I
dad's,
think they're preserved. Yes,
your
sir.
dad's personal notes and records related to that membership. You do not know.
I do not know, but I think they're available for you. Yes, sir.
Let's turn to, when we offer Exhibit 90.
Any objections?
Okay. Instant.
I know, I need to hear from Mr. Ray then.
Sorry, Judge.
No objections?
No.
P90 is admitted.
Let's pull 91, please. In 2024, the Kerr County had a hazard mitigation action plan, correct?
According to that, yes, sir.
And I'll show you one paragraph of that. It says, in the case of the FEMA 100-year floodplain, there is a 1% annual chance, while in the 500-year floodplain, there is a 0.02 annual chance. We talked about what you understood some of those things to mean, correct?
I'm sorry, will you repeat that?
Just, that's a bad question, let me start with. You understand, you've learned what the difference between a 100-year and 500-year floodplain are, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Here at the bottom, it says the local planning team determined it is likely that Kerr County and the participating jurisdictions will experience a flood event in the next year, meaning an event is probable in the next 3 years, correct?
Yes, that's what it says.
Now, that plan was actually voted on in the May 2025 meeting. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, so let's just step back for a second. As a board member of the UGRA, to the extent there were sirens or warning systems or gauges or monitors that people thought might be needed, your father knew that they were lacking, correct?
Yes, for many years.
So he had that knowledge for many years. I want to make sure we got that right, correct?
Yes, he was
Okay.
concerned, yes.
He was concerned. So, knowing those things lacked, and that a flood event had been predicted as probable by his own board in the next 3 years, what did your father do to fortify your property against that flood?
He did what he'd always done in the past 50 years, just try to have the right weather apps. If the state wasn't going to fund UGRA, any flood warning towers, he did the best he could with what we could do in our area. Yes, sir.
Weather apps. That's it?
Weather stations, rain gauges, and just being in touch with local officials. Yes, sir.
How about develop a plan for how and where to evacuate when that probable flood occurred?
When a 5,000-year flood occurs, sir,
The probable flood that his own board predicted.
a 5-inch flood, sir, I don't think anybody, he had 50 years of experience. He was ready for a flood like that. Yes, sir.
Well, despite what the UGRA predicted, at no point in time did your father ever create a written evacuation plan.
That's not true.
At no point in time did your father ever identify a safe muster site.
That's not true.
And at no point in time did your father ever train any counselors, including the 2 that you failed to notify OSHA about where those muster sites were and when to go to them, correct?
Mr. Beckworth, I know you don't like the emergency evacuation plan, but that was a written evacuation plan that was approved for decades by the health department and by many experts. Yes, sir.
It was a written plan to stay in place.
Until leadership came, if there was another situation arose. So
Tell everybody in this courtroom, when did leadership say evacuate on walkie-talkies?
it didn't say walkie-talkie, sir.
When did-
They started evacuating Bug House, the closest cabin to the river. Yes, sir. And we've done that on other occasions.
You've had to
That was
evacuate
the
before.
evacuation plan. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you were asked about this order and what the judge did or didn't do, and I think she's perfectly capable of knowing what she did or didn't do. You understand the reason we're actually here, right?
I believe your reason why we're here, yes, sir, but
This is all about an effort to preserve evidence on an evidence field, correct?
I don't believe that's your purpose. I believe you're trying to try the merits of the case right now in a temporary injunction hearing. So
Let's-
I'm sorry,
let's-
you just asked me my opinion.
Let's talk about that for a second. Why are we back here for 3 days? Isn't that because you and your lawyers told the Court of Appeals that you needed the opportunity to conduct due process and testify?
I'm
You
not
asked
certain-
for it.
I'm not certain. I think you took personal offense that we appealed the trial court's decision. Yes, sir.
You asked to be here and testify, correct?
You subpoenaed me. Yes, sir. So I was willing to testify. Yes, sir.
So as we close today, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We talked about your lawyers and what you all have been doing. And I've raised the issue several times about this profession of a Christian ministry. Remember us talking about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there something wrong in Kent Mystic's opinion with us asking this court to require you to preserve evidence that's material to ours and other investigations?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you know that your lawyer, Mr. Wright, right here, that when I walked out of the courtroom yesterday, I went over to Mr. Ray and I said, hey, before you start talking about my or my team's
Your Honor,
integrity,
I object to him testifying, Mr. Beckworth testifying about
That's good.
matters outside of court with Mr. Wright.
I haven't finished my question.
I
Well,
haven't
he's
actually
doing
heard, I'm sorry?
He's doing it, and I'm gonna object to him testifying about he and Mr. Wright's conversation outside the court, outside any witness. It's irrelevant to this proceeding, Your Honor.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, it's on YouTube. When we were done yesterday, and I want this lawyer and client to know, I asked Mr. Ray, I walked over and I said, you know, before you talk about the integrity of me and my team, you ought to just talk to us and ask about the facts. Mr. Fiveson said, you know, that's good advice or something like that. I can't recall precisely what is heard, but when I walked by, Mr. Wright looked at me and he said, you're gonna burn in hell. And then he told Mrs. Yarnell, you're gonna burn in hell. And he said it in front of my 22-year-old daughter who was here, who's at the University of Texas. And so I got it all in video. My question that I would like to ask, is that the kind of conduct that Kent Mystic is responsible for in a proceeding where we are simply asking to preserve evidence so we can figure out what happened and get to the search for truth? That's my question. I'm happy to provide the YouTube link.
And Your Honor, we would also reiterate the objection. This is far beyond the scope of this hearing. I can
So
concede-
why are you making an objection? Who do you represent separate that Mr. Ray does not represent?
We represent the same client, Your Honor,
Then
but
sit down, one attorney, one witness, one attorney, one issue. That's always the rule. Thank
yes,
you.
Your Honor.
And
Yes, Mr. Ray.
I am re-urging my objection that it's off the record outside of the presence of this witness does not have any authority to speak for Mr. Beckworth. When Mr. Beckworth walked over here and said something, I think I had my back to him.
Did this happen in my courtroom
Yeah,
or
I had my
somewhere
back to it.
else?
He came over.
I was finishing my question. Did this happen in my courtroom? This conversation?
I didn't have any conversation with him. He came and said something to me when I was getting my things.
Yes, it's on the video.
I believe in March, I explicitly told all of the lawyers who were present that all the rules that apply when I'm in the courtroom apply when I step out of the courtroom. Does everyone remember that?
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know what happened. I don't watch YouTube. I try to avoid the press on any of my cases, meaning I try not to watch it. But any amount of that conversation would be against the rules in this courtroom, whether I'm here or I'm not here. That's what bothers me the most right now. So you're now telling me you didn't hear it. Is that right, Mr. Ray?
I heard he walked up behind me, he said something to me about, you know, his integrity or, I was getting my stuff, Mr. Daniel was right here.
You didn't hear what your co-counsel responded?
I did not. I was getting my things and walked this way. There was a conversation that took place back there with Mr. Wright, Mr.
No,
Mr. Beck.
ma'am. you represent that is someone else that you need to be heard on this?
I've heard it, I was just gonna say.
Okay, thank you. I really dislike all of this, because it doesn't have anything to do with what we're here trying to work out. Did you hear any of this conversation?
I did see that they were having a disagreement, Your Honor.
Did you hear the conversation? Did you hear the words spoken?
I heard Mr. Beckworth's words.
Did you hear, is it Wright, Mr. Wright? I don't know the name, I'm sorry, I don't remember all the names. Is that what it was, Mr. Wright? Is that the name? Did you hear Mr. Wright?
I did not,
You did not. Okay,
oh, Your Honor.
all right, we're not gonna ask this question of this witness, we're gonna move on.
Thank you. And Your Honor, just one thing, I bring that up, and I appreciate everything you said, and we all will abide by it. For the record, and why I raise it, because it's part of your ultimate decision-making here. I think the idea that we've shown throughout the last few days is whether this defendant will actually comply with what we're asking to comply for. That's the only reason we bring it up, because I do think it's a very serious matter.
We're gonna have to reserve some time at the end of the day for scheduling. And I don't typically take this kind of a stance with attorneys, but the scheduling is going to be me telling you when you're coming back, and I really am not going to care about the rest of your schedules. There are too many people and too much work to do, so I'm not going to care. And so, as I said, when you weren't there, Mr. Watts, so I'll make sure you hear it now, 2 weeks ago, when I'm going forward, I'm gonna tell you when you have to show up, and if you individually cannot make it, luckily, you all have other attorneys who work with you, and they will. I won't be adjusting schedules.
I've handled that, and I'm gonna have an additional counsel ready to sub in for me when I'm not available, so that will
That's
happen.
fine. I don't care who it is, but I'm not waiting or moving anything anymore.
We've solved that issue, and I apologize for that problem.
All right.
Thank you. No further questions. Appreciate it.
You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you have another witness for me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who is that?
Kate Eastland.
Kate Eastland.
Kate.
Katie Eastland. Come on up. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Come have a seat in the witness chair. I don't know if you have been here or not. While you are testifying, it is not a conversation. It is a question and answer. Please let the lawyers finish their question entirely, even if you think you know what they are asking you. Take a very slight pause and then answer the question they asked you out loud with words. Will you do your best, please?
I will.
Thank you so much. There is water there if you need it. You may proceed.
Katie, have you been here the whole 3 days?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been director of Camp Mystic, Cypress Creek?
Cypress Lake opened in 2020, and I was the director beginning with that first summer.
And prior to that, were you a counselor?
I was a counselor for second term in 2003 when Britt and I were dating. And I came back and helped in arts and crafts, I believe it was this summer of 2008 during third term. And then after the passing of my brother-in-law, James, Britt and I moved our family to Camp Mystic in 2015. And so I resumed working for camp then in smaller capacities.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
What are their ages?
My oldest son is 18, my middle son is 16, and I have a daughter that is 13.
Is your daughter Elizabeth?
Yes, Elizabeth is my daughter.
Was she a camper
She was,
on July 4th?
yes, she was at second term on July 4th.
And where was her cabin located?
She was in Shady Shack, and that's located on Senior Hill.
I'm going to come back and talk about the Senior Hill in just a
Okay.
minute. But first I want to know, and we're going to start in the middle. When did you cross Edmondson Creek to go over to Guadalupe Camp?
The first time I was able to get across was at dawn, and so I feel like it was between 6:30 and 7 a.m. A little bit before that, when it was still dark, my oldest son and I made an attempt to go that direction, and the water was extremely high. I knew there was no chance of getting across.
Why did you wait until 6:30 a.m.?
Well, the water was up so high. Also, it was dark, and I didn't know that anything really was happening over there. You couldn't see it.
Did you feel as though you should at least well, let me ask you this. Did you hear the call from Francis at somewhere before 3 o'clock?
I did. I was, that was about the time, one of the times Britt and I were patrolling the Cypress Lake grounds, and I believe I heard the call. We had one radio in our home, so I heard the call when I was in the car with Britt, and then I got out at Nightingale's Nook. So that was my first indicator that the floodwaters were bad on the Guadalupe River side.
And at that time, you didn't think it was necessary to go down to the Guadalupe River camp?
Well, there would have been no way for me to get to the Guadalupe River camp, nor did it cross my mind because I already knew that Dick, Edward, and Glenn were at the Guadalupe River camp. And I can tell you that if there is absolutely anyone who knows that river and knows the floodplain, it was Dick Eastland.
So you felt comfortable with the people that were from Camp Mystic that were down there handling the situation on the ground?
100%. I did feel comfortable with them handling it.
Tell me what you did when you crossed the river, Edmondson River, to go to Camp Mystic.
I apologize for interrupting, but you're the only lawyer who calls anything Edmondson River, so which body of water is that?
It's Edmondson or Bubblegum Creek. They're one and the same.
Okay, thank you.
I should have made that clarification.
Thank you.
So the water was still up a bit. I remember having to kind of wade through it. It was maybe to my shin. And I crossed over to Rec Hall, not really knowing what I would find there. I remember being very confused. I couldn't figure out why the campers were in Rec Hall. I couldn't figure out why girls were coming down from Sky High. I couldn't figure out why they were wet. Your brain can't go there, right? Like, I've lived at camp a good while now, and we've seen some floods. This wasn't a flood. This was an inland tsunami. I couldn't wrap my brain around why the girls had ever left their cabin, because I knew Dick had told all of us, where the highest flood line to date ever was, and that came into the underside of the dining hall called Casa Rio. And I knew that that was where the highest of the high had ever been. And so to try to wrap your brain around the fact that not only did water get to the cabins, but then fill it up, I couldn't get there. And I still didn't know that when I was there. So I just remember Mary Liz saying, I think we're missing campers. I couldn't figure out why they were missing.
What did you do when Mary Liz told you, I think we're missing campers?
She and I just immediately went into action. I remember her being very decisive. I remember her saying, I have a list, help me get the counselors, let's line them up by cabin. And I said, I got it. And so I started calling them in cabin order, and then they were going to her and then lining up on the tennis courts.
Who else was at Rec Hall when you entered Rec Hall that you knew that were employees or workers there?
Well, the counselors were there with the cabins, obviously with the exception of Bubble Inn. Betsy Althouse was there. I remember the nursing staff being there. I remember seeing Richard. Those are the ones I can confirm I know I saw.
You were here on Monday when the 911 tape was played of the Polish worker calling into 911. You were here, you heard that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that call came in at 4:09. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Do you recall yesterday that there was another 911 call that came from Senior Hill, and that call came in about 3:57 a.m.? Do you recall that?
Yes.
When you looked around that room, did you see anyone from the fire department there?
When I got to Rec
Rec
Hall,
Hall, yes.
no.
When you looked around Rec Hall, did you see anyone from the police department there?
No.
Did you see anyone there that was from the sheriff's department?
No.
Do you know why 2 hours after 911, 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours after 911 was called, that none of these law enforcement, none of this help was there at Rec Hall?
Well, I don't know why, but my assumption is two things. One, the highway.
Sustained. Unfortunately, I can't let you tell me what you assume.
Okay.
You have to know, tell me things you
I'll
actually
rephrase
know.
it. At that time, at 6:30 or 7, what was the state of Highway 39? And for those that don't live in the area, Highway 39 is the entrance to get into Camp Mystic, correct?
Correct. It was impassable. From that vantage point, I thought the highway had collapsed because there's a hillside on the opposite side of it, and so many boulders had tumbled into the road. So there was no way to get in unless by air. And it was still raining, so I'm assuming that's why maybe helicopters were not there at that point.
What time do you recall was the first time you saw someone that may have been law enforcement or medical aid?
The first time I saw somebody was around noon. A smaller helicopter landed up by James Hall. And I ran up and asked him if he was there to help us. They were still trying to figure out the scene. So that was the first sort of outside help that I saw.
I interrupted you. You were telling me, what did you do? What did you start to do with Mary Liz in Rec Hall?
So once we had many cabins lined up, I began taking them from the tennis courts. We walked across Edmondson Creek, Bubblegum Creek, and we walked to James Hall. And then we were stationed there. A lot of our food service staff had moved drinks of, sodas, waters, whatever we had, and cereals in there for the girls. So I remember Mary Liz looking at me and saying, we need to feed him and clothe him. I said, absolutely. And so that's what I went into action doing. We started serving them breakfast. And then it was very cold, so we started getting every blanket we could from everywhere at Cypress Lake. And then I moved over all the clothes from the canteen. I had staff help me. We moved over all of the tribe clothes, anything we had in the canteen, and we set that out. And then I had my big three, my program director, activities director, and tribe coordinator go cabin by cabin. And I asked them to have every girl give an outfit for a friend from Guadalupe River.
Cabin by cabin, which cabins?
All of the Cypress Lake cabins, because I knew that I needed clothes in various sizes. And so we went around collecting a full outfit from every Cypress Lake camper that had dry clothes and bringing it up to James Hall.
How long were you up at James Hall?
I was there from when I walked them over in the morning until I helped evacuate them that afternoon from the Cypress Lake soccer field and archery field. There were times in between there, when I convened with my Cypress Lake counselor staff to let them know what was going on. We still had no outside help when I approached my Cypress Lake staff, so my recommendation to them was to prepare their cabins to receive. I have done the math on it. I was preparing each cabin to receive between 10 and 15 girls. And so I assumed, because no help was coming, there was no word of really help coming, I was preparing the Cypress Lake side to house all of those Guadalupe River campers for the evening.
When you said that there was no help coming, just for the time, what time frame?
I told my counselors, the Cypress Lake counselors, this somewhere between 12 and 1, because I remember it was about the same time that we were feeding everyone for the second time that day. Richard and his staff were preparing pizzas to feed all of the campers from the flats of the Guadalupe River side, as well as all of the campers that were at Cypress Lake.
When did you actually realize the magnitude of this historical disaster? What time was it?
It was when I evacuated with, evacuation is probably not the right word, was when I left on an Army amphibious vehicle, probably around 7:30 with Mary Liz, and we probably had 20 campers in that vehicle. I wanted to be the last one out, so that I had my eyes watching every one of them load and get out. And so Mary Liz and I were on the last car out. I sent my lead nurse on the first car out. And as we drove through Hunt, we made eye contact, and I said, our entire community is gone.
Let me switch gears a little bit and go back to Senior Hill.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first actually see your daughter who was at Senior Hill?
I saw my daughter at about 6:30 p.m. She came to James Hall to help me serve dinner to the campers.
During the time that you're still up at Cypress Creek, and you know there's a storm, you hear Francis at 3 o'clock saying, front gates, water's coming in my door. Weren't you concerned about Elizabeth, your daughter?
I was not. I knew that she was in the hands of very capable and competent counselors that were also adults. I also knew that our cabins were built on high ground.
How old were those counselors on Senior Hill?
All of our counselors, or even our youngest counselors, have graduated high school. So between the ages of 18 to 24.
We heard a second call from a counselor, I think it was later in the morning, 8:39, calling about someone being injured. Do you recall that?
Yes,
Who was that person?
that was Frances Blackwell Loper, our guard keeper, that lived at the gatehouse.
What was she doing up at Senior Hill?
Well, when she called and said that water was coming in, Dick and Edward were very specific to run up the hill and make your way to Senior Hill. So at some point, she eventually did make it to Senior Hill. I believe she hunkered out the storm clinging to a tree. And then at that time, she made it up there. And I know that the counselors rendered aid to her. Every cabin has a first aid kit and clearly someone had a phone and was able to call and get her more medical help.
And during the time from 3 to 6 in the morning, were the counselors up on Senior Hill all in their individual cabins, or did they move around?
Well, from what my daughter is telling me, they did begin moving around. I know that the cabins that had some flood water in them, which would have been Lookout and Hangover, those girls moved into cabins that were further back, set deeper in on the cliff. And so then I believe my Elizabeth was in Shady Shack, which is at that front facing edge. And so then they all followed suit and moved back.
And Frances, who we were just talking about, she recovered from her injuries?
Yes,
Is she coming back to Cypress Creek?
she has already told us that she wants to be the gatekeeper at Camp Mystic Cypress Lake all summer.
Does she have any family members that want to attend as camper?
She has a granddaughter signed up to attend for a beach year.
I don't like the words I'm going to have to use to ask you these next questions, but they were used yesterday by Ms. Yarnell. And so I'm going to use her language with you on these questions, because if I don't, she will.
Okay.
Do you think you neglected your daughter, leaving her there, not checking on her, not trying to get to her from any time from 3 o'clock until even after you passed over the creek?
No, ma'am, I did not neglect my daughter.
Do you believe that you abandoned Seal?
No, ma'am, I had no access to Seal.
Yesterday, we heard some very emotional testimony from Mary Liz, where Mary Liz felt as though she may have abandoned Seal. Do you know why she may have said that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Speculation.
Speculation, and she's not here. She's already testified, yes.
Sustained.
Did you see, or as you saw, and then as you later spoke with her, about what occurred yesterday after she testified? Did you speak to her after her testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, that would be hearsay.
Sustained.
I'm not going to ask the conversation, but thank you.
Well,
Do you?
sometimes witnesses will answer questions that are not asked.
True.
And so we have to be very careful, and you are for sure going down a path that leads directly to hearsay. So you need to pause before you answer any of the next few questions, and you need to be very careful in how you phrase it.
Okay, understood, Your Honor. How long have you known Mary Liz?
I have known Mary Liz since I married Britt in 2004.
So, 22 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have an understanding of how or why she may have testified as she did yesterday, based on the relationship you have with her?
Objection, saying, Your Honor, she was
Remember
under.
I just asked you to pause? I really mean it. Pause, because I need time to hear from the attorneys before you answer this series of questions. Sustained.
Okay.
Let's move on.
I'll ask you one more question, but not about her testimony yesterday.
Okay.
Has Mary Liz sustained a trauma of herself, losing a
Objection.
family member?
There's no predicate that she's a medical professional.
I'll rephrase it.
All right.
Has Mary Liz lost a child?
Yes, ma'am. Mary Liz has lost a child.
That's all questions.
All right. Any cross?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. You can go back now to the gallery.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. Lynn Yankee.
Lynn Yankee, I believe that's spelled. Come on up. Raise your right hand. Do solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you so much. Come on up to the witness chair. You probably have heard this instruction, but do remember, it is a question and answer. It is not a conversation. Only one person speaking at a time. And please pause after the question from the lawyers before you give your answer out loud with words.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And before we start, go ahead and spell your name, please.
Glenn, Glenn, Yankee, Yankee, Juenke.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Watts.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Yankee, my name is Michael Watts, is that right?
Yes, sir.
The first time I referenced your name, I mispronounced it, didn't I?
I believe so.
You spent your life being called Junkie.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. As somebody whose name is spelled Mikal, I get the pain, okay? Mr. Yankee, let me just see if I get some background information on you for the court. How old a man are you?
I'm 58.
And where were you born and where were you raised?
I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Clark High School,
When did you graduate?
1986.
Okay, after graduating from Clark High School in 1986, what did you begin to do?
I went to Texas A&M.
I'm sorry about that, but what happened?
I was a senior at A&M, and I had a lifelong friend that was murdered. I had a sudden interest from ag finance to criminal justice, so I got a degree from Sam Houston and joined the Houston Police Department.
Okay, so you graduated from Sam Houston
Yes, sir.
with a degree in criminology? Or-
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
What was
Yes.
your
So
degree?
one,
I
no
get
with pausing, like I asked, so it's hard to do.
It
I'm
is.
not upset. It's hard to do. It's not how people converse, but we are not conversing. We're listening to a question and we're answering a question. And we don't want to overwhelm Ms. Carter, so we talk slower than we would in a conversation as well. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's slow it down. What was your degree in?
Criminal justice and public administration
What year did you get that degree?
in 1990.
Then what did you do?
I joined the Houston Police Department,
And how long were you a member of the Houston Police Department?
25 years.
Just describe for the court a short summary of what you did over those 25 years. What was your role?
The first 10 years, I was night shift DWI task force, and I was an accident reconstruction investigator, and arrested over 2,000 people for driving while intoxicated. Had 2 young daughters, and I had to get out of the night shift to take care of my kids, so I got a job in policy writing inspections division. Then I worked for the chief. We had a mayor come in 2004, and I worked for the new chief.
Okay. And you finished your work at the Houston Police Department in about 2015?
Yes, sir.
By the way, are you a family member? You're married?
I am married.
And how long have you been married?
I've been married since 2009.
Any brothers and sisters?
I have an older sister that lives in Wimberley, and my brother is also an active Houston police officer.
Fair enough. Okay. I want to talk to you about what happened after you got out of the police department in Houston in 2015. Could you give the judge a short summary of the time that you spent between then and before you ended up at Canvas?
So I retired in 2015 from the Houston Police Department, and I traveled and did not work for a little bit, and then I started working for as an insurance fraud investigator after Hurricane Harvey, and I was did that for about a year maybe, and then I had the opportunity to go to Olympia, Washington, and become a police officer there, because they had a deal where you could go up there and work 5 years and get another pension, so that's what I did. Unfortunately, we had COVID and then the George Floyd incident, and I had a change of heart, so I came back, but I did not go back to Houston. I went back to Hunt, Texas.
Okay. And when you say you went back to Hunt, Texas, had you ever been there before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and describe that.
My dad was born and raised in Kerrville, and my grandmother, and I had 4 great aunts and uncles, so our small family was all in that area.
Okay, and like most of the people in this courtroom, you love that area and want to go back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After returning to, let me just for the record set the stage. Most of us know where San Antonio is. How do you get to Hunt, Texas from San Antonio?
I-10 to 39.
Okay, so I-10, Hunt, Leon Springs, Barney,
Oh,
all the way to Kerrville, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, and then you cut over, and the judge heard a lot about a Highway 39, is that right?
Yes, sir.
When I think of a highway, I think of what's driving through I-35. That's not what Highway 39 looks like, is it?
No, sir.
How would you characterize the road that's called Highway 39?
It's a 2-lane road with no shoulder from Ingram to Hunt, past Hunt.
All right, so even though we call it a highway, it's got one lane going one way, one lane going the other, no shoulder.
Correct.
And the reason there's no shoulder is on the inland side of Highway 39 as you're driving from Hunt to Camp Mystic, what do we have?
The river,
And on the outland side, what do we have?
hills, and
So it's basically carved into the side of the hill between the river and the hill.
correct.
Okay. Would you characterize it as wide or narrow?
Narrow,
Is it straight or winding?
winding.
Does it follow the winding of the river?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when did you return to the Hunt, Texas area?
In January of 21.
And would you agree with the testimony yesterday that Hunt's approximately 7 miles from Camp Mystic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you return to Hunt, is an adjacent town to Hunt a different town?
Yes, sir.
And what's that town called?
Ingram.
Okay. And so we've taken the court through all the towns between San Antonio and Kerrville. When you get into Kerrville, what's the sequence of what you're going to drive through to get into Camp Mystic?
Ingram, Kerrville, Ingram, then Hunt.
Okay. Kerrville, Ingram, Hunt, Camp Mystic.
Yes, sir.
All right, fair enough. Were all 4 of those locations affected by the July 4th flood?
Yes, sir.
Were all 4 of those locations utterly destroyed along the river?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the time frame in which you returned to Hunt, Texas?
I returned in January of 21.
Okay, and what did you begin to do, even though you had now 2 pensions? Did you just?
No, I do.
Oh, you didn't get the second pension? Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law passed away of a heart attack in June of 22, and we went back to Houston to attend to his family. I have a nephew, Melissa's brother, and I wasn't working at the time, and I prayed about it. I went on a long walk in Memorial Park, and I got back to the hotel, and I opened my iPad, and I saw that the Ingram Police Department resigned in total because they didn't like the new mayor. And I just had a calling to put my uniform back, suit back up, and I didn't want to really suit up, but I went in and I cold called Mayor Jordan and let him know that I would like to help reestablish the department. And they hired me and they appointed me chief of police.
Okay, and how long did you serve as chief of police of the town of Ingram, Texas?
8 months.
Okay, and what was the next employment that you took following your service as chief of police of Ingram, Texas?
I met Edward at the Hunt Volunteer Fire Department, which I'm a member of as well. And he knew that I was a retired officer, and he asked if I'd be interested in working night watch.
Okay. And when was the first time you began working as a night watchman at Camp Mystic?
It was the summer of 22, right after the Uvalde shooting.
Okay. And after the Uvalde shooting, there was a heightened awareness about risk of crazy people coming up, shooting up camps and stuff.
It was very alarming.
Yeah. And so were you hired to assist the camp's efforts to create security to combat that risk?
Not really. I was there. They've had night watchmen before, and I just took the job because I wanted to be out there and work.
Okay. When did you begin to work at Camp Mystic?
In June of 22.
Okay. Now, my notes were that you were the chief of police of Ingram beginning in June of 22. Were you doing both?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first summer that you were out there, in the summer of 22, Camp Mystic hired the chief of police of Ingram to be its night watchman.
I was a night watch first, and then I let him know that I was going to become chief, which was not on purpose. It was accidental, honestly.
In terms of summer camp seasons, your involvement would be the summer of 22, 23, 24, 25 to the present.
Correct.
Okay. Now, in the summer of 22, 23, 24, up to the beginning of 25 before July 4th, did you get to know the people who were working at Camp Mystic?
Yes, sir.
Did you get to know Dick Eastland, who's no longer with us?
Yes, sir.
If you would, describe for the court your perception of the management hierarchy at Camp Mystic while Dick Eastland was still alive.
I referred to him as the general. I mean, I did not have too much engagement with him until the summer of 25, but he was the man in charge.
Now, with respect to the issue of floods, you mentioned you had a sister who lives in Wimberley.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe for the court what occurred in Wimberley over Memorial Day of 2015?
A horrific flood, catastrophic.
Lives were lost.
Yes, sir.
Babies are still missing.
Yes, sir.
With respect to your sister's experience, did you bring that knowledge of what happened on the Blanco River in 2015 with you when you were night watchman at Camp Mystic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, with respect to Camp Mystic, I want to take you to your role. What's the role of the night watchman?
The role that I did was ensure the girls made it in safely from their day off. The counselors would have a day off occasionally, and I was there to kill scorpions and coral snakes and rattlesnakes and just drive around on a golf cart in the perimeter at both camps.
Did you also provide advice to counselors who were free to leave the camp during their time off?
Yes, I did. I actually laminated a card, and I have two grown daughters, and as everybody knows, there's very limited cell phone service from Hunt basically to Mystic, and so I would let the big three know if their car broke down or if they hit a deer, or what to do and how to call the police and all that kind of stuff that they knew anyway. But I was very concerned of the like if we didn't have contact, I was so happy when everybody made it back in.
Okay. And just to clean up our record a little bit, the court's heard a lot about the so-called Big Three. Who were those three individuals?
Each term has a different group of three brilliant young women who are basically my boss, like at night. And I work with them very limited, but I would check in with both Big Three at both camps. And I still have a good relationship with some of the young ladies.
And who were the Big Three for the Guadalupe River campsite for Cypress Lake?
I do not remember the names.
Okay.
Sorry.
Fair enough. It's not a memory test. Let's go to July the 3rd. What time did you arrive at Camp Mystic to serve as the night watchman that evening?
I got there at around 9:45.
Okay. Had you been there the night before, the evening of July 2nd to the 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've sat through 3 days of this, is that right?
Correct.
You saw I want to try to save time, you saw the radar showing the timing of when there was rain and when there wasn't on the 3rd?
Yes, sir.
Let me just ask you, as somebody that was down below the radar, do you recall it raining at all on the 23rd?
On the 3rd,
On the 3rd, excuse me.
it did rain later in the evening, like closer to midnight.
Did it rain at all before the so-called the timing for taps at 10 p.m.?
I don't know if it did or not. I don't think it did, actually.
Okay. What was your planned schedule as to when you were to get off work that evening?
My shift for that night was 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Okay. And were you on the premises between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And because of what we're here about, did you, in fact, get to stay longer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I probably should have stopped you right before you went to this date, but we should take our morning
Let's do
break.
that,
Because
okay.
this is gonna obviously.
Good time to break, yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we'll come back at 10:44.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Sitting all day does hurt more than when I stand though.
Yes, and then also hunched. I'm hunched like this. So, yes, my back has been killing me the last 2 days.
Someday I'll do like 12-hour interviews, you know, and I think, oh, this would be easy. And then it'll be like, you never stop. You know, you have lunch.
I do know. I know exactly that.
Yeah.
Because before I did stuff, I did depositions. And
That's long. That's
what's even worse is the attorneys would go, we'll just work through lunch if that's okay with y'all. So they're sitting there eating while I'm still writing. And then they would go for 12, 13 hours. And I finally was like, I'm done with this.
How did you get into doing this?
So I was a real estate appraiser, like forever. And then after the housing thing, I like lost my job because there's like nothing to do. So I told to my husband, and I was like, I need a job. But I only graduated high school. I didn't do anything else. And so I was like, I know what I'm doing. I don't want to go back to school. And because I was like 22, 23. And so we went to Barnes and Noble, and I bought a book, literally just jobs, like jobs. And so I was like, I know how much money I want to make. And so I just started going through, going, what can I do that will make this kind of money? Because I was making a lot of money in real estate. And my two options were a flight attendant, which I
That's taxing.
pass on that, I need fine, or a court. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna do that. And so I looked online and found out that it just happened here at the boarding school here in Austin. And I was like, perfect. So I went to court boarding school for 3 years.
Wow.
And that's it.
That's great.
Yeah. It's fun. And sometimes not.
Yankee, when we called the break, I think we were about to discuss what happened between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. First of all, at 10 p.m. on July the 3rd of 2025, had it yet started to rain?
No, sir.
Can you describe for the court in your own words what you did between 10 and midnight?
I patrolled, went down to the river, patrolled the flats, went over to Cypress Lake, and, checked in with the big three at both camps, ascertained how many people were out on their day off.
Now, with respect to people that were out, were you made aware that there were some employees, what we've been calling the Polish employees, that had been out that day?
Yes.
Okay. And were you aware of where they were?
Yes, sir.
Where did they go?
They, Craig Althouse, when I first got there at 9:45, he said, hey, do you want to go to Dripping Springs, Johnson City, to pick up the Polish because their vehicle broke down. They went to the Capitol, I believe. And I said, no, I'm going to stick it out here. And Olaf went and picked him up.
Okay. And Olaf is the gentleman that went to get them?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you monitor where they were and the time they got back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Approximately what time did the vehicle that Olaf was driving, carrying the other Polish employees, get back to the camp?
At 1:44 a.m.
Okay. If you could, between 10 and midnight, did anything out of the ordinary happen at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Shortly thereafter, did the weather turn?
Yes, sir.
Describe for the court the weather that you experienced between midnight and thereafter.
It started raining, and I'm a volunteer fireman, and so I did my whole adult life as a police officer, but I learned about the flooding. I've been going to hunt my whole life. I started monitoring the Guadalupe River Authority, and like every 20, 25 minutes, I would just write down rain amounts upstream, and some of the gauges were not working, and I was a nerd documenting everything down and left everything in the office.
Okay. By the way, I know you're going to be asked, so what happened to those notes?
I lost my computer and bag, and nothing was recovered.
Okay. But anyway, when it started to rain, you were on the internet trying to monitor rain gauge data that was upstream of Camp Mystic.
Correct.
Okay. And what did you discover when you tried to get that data from the rain gauges that had been installed upstream from Camp Mystic?
A majority of them were not online.
They were not functioning.
Correct.
Okay. What did you do next?
My recollection is once all the girls made it in from curfew, I went on my last patrol, and I went down to the golf course, rode around, and and I was in the rain, and parked my golf cart, and Dick came over around, I want to say 1:20, 1:30, but the time, I don't know exactly what time.
Okay. Your Honor, may I grab the map real quick?
Of course.
Thank you. Now, we have the map that from the left side in the middle has Cypress Creek, and then at the very top on the right has Guadalupe River, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the court asked a good question about somebody using two different terms for a different waterway. What did you all call this little blue line here that goes just to the left of Pop In, all the way to the intersection of the road that crosses Cypress Creek and goes out the main gate on the upper left-hand corner of this map?
It goes by Edmondson Creek or Bubblegum Creek.
Okay, so when we talk about Bubblegum Creek, Edmondson Creek, vice versa.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, you just mentioned that the last route that you took was along the golf course, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where was the golf course?
The golf course is,
Can you just move it back a little
Yeah,
bit
sure
so
can.
you're not quite
Yes, ma'am.
up here? So it feels a little
Oh,
close
right
for
here?
me. That's much better.
No worries.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, it was
very,
a little chummy.
yeah, that's.
Okay, the question was, where is the golf course?
it's out the road near the main gate.
Okay, is it above the road on this side?
Correct.
Okay. When you were on the golf course, does the golf course run parallel to the Guadalupe River upstream of Camp Mystic?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was it flooded when you drove your golf cart on it?
No, sir.
Okay. What time did you drive across the golf course and see that the Guadalupe River was not yet flooded?
It was about 1:10, 1:15.
Okay. You're driving the golf course. It's not flooded at 1:10, 1:15. Where did you go next?
I went back to the office.
Okay. In order to go across the office from the golf course, you're talking about the front office here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In order to get from the golf course to the front office, did you have to cross Cypress Creek in a golf cart?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to do so?
Yes, sir.
What's your best recollection as to the time that you were able to successfully traverse Cypress Creek in a golf cart?
1:20.
Okay. And so at 1:20, you took a golf cart. Is this thing all souped up where it's got wheels that are 15 feet high or anything?
No, sir. It's a battery-powered stealth golf cart, so it doesn't wake the girls as I'm driving by.
What's the approximate height of the wheels on the golf cart?
It's a small golf cart. I mean, a foot.
Okay. And so, I don't play a lot of golf, but those of us that do, was it a normal golf cart?
Correct.
So a normal golf cart at 1:15 was able to cross Cypress Creek?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then you went to the front office.
Yes, sir.
What did you do at the front office?
I saw Dick's coming over, which he had never done in the 4 years I've been there.
Okay.
And the first thing he told me was, hey, I know you have friends in town for July 4th, go ahead and go home.
What time did Dick Eastland tell you go ahead and go home?
It was around 1:20, 1:30, I
Okay.
believe,
What time were you planning on getting off that evening?
2 a.m.
Okay. What did you tell Mr. Eastland when he invited you to leave early at 1:20?
I said, no, sir, I get off at 2 and I want to stay here.
Okay. Did that turn out to be a consequential decision on your part?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about what happened between 1:20 when you said, my shift doesn't end until 2, I'll stay here until then. What's the next thing you observed?
I was showing him my iPad with the Guadalupe River Authority, and he called Edward at some point to come over, and he was the general, and he was telling us to do different things, and
Okay. Approximately what time do you recall Edward getting to the office?
I thought it was between 1:30 and 1:45.
Okay. And when Edward got to the office, were the only people in the office you, Dick Eastland, and now Edward Eastland?
I believe the big three had already gone to bed, so that's correct.
Okay. And what happened at that point?
Can you say that again?
Sure. It's about 1:30 to 1:45. The three of you are in the office. What's the next thing you recall?
I recall the Polish staff driving across the bridge around 1:44. I've never been on the radio. I broadcasted out to Craig Althouse, my boss, and said, hey, Craig, the Polish made it back safely. Good night.
Okay. And is that the way you know what happened at 1:44?
That's the only reason why, because I've never been on the radio, because I don't want to wake anybody up.
Okay. So at 1:44, a vehicle is able to cross Cypress Creek to deliver the Polish employees to the commissary, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're 16 minutes from the end of your shift at 1:44, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you still planning on leaving at 2?
No, sir.
Okay. Why couldn't you leave at 2?
It was started raining very hard.
Okay. And I don't want to get into your address, especially in this case, but would it be fair to say you had to drive back to Hunt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you would have had to have left Camp Mystic, driven 7 miles along Highway 39, a single narrow road each way, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so at 2 p.m., or excuse me, at 2 a.m., when your shift was over, what did you decide to do?
I could not leave.
Okay. There are some videos that the court's already seen them, so I'm not going to go through them, of Edmondson Creek or Bubblegum Creek showing water across it. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Did you shoot one of those videos?
I shot one of those videos.
And what time do you recall shooting the video that the court's already seen? Otherwise,
I believe it was 2:14 a.m.
Okay. So between 1:44, when the poles were able to drive across Edmondson Creek and Cypress Creek, And 214, we can see from your video what the water looked like at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would it be fair that by 214, the land bridge across Cypress Creek was no longer passable?
Correct.
So we're at 214, you shoot the video. What's the next thing that you recall?
I recall Edward and Dick, one of the counselors came up from one of the cabins, and we've already heard all that, but that's what I recall.
Okay. And what's your recollection of the time that that happened?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, I've struggled with the time.
Yeah, that's fine. And we've got testimony from others as to that time, and we'll just leave it there. But let me ask you this. During the time that you were across Cypress Creek where you transversed it with a golf cart, the poles were able to transverse it at 144, and then you shot the video at 215. Were you in the front office that time?
Yes, sir.
Were you guys watching movies?
No, sir.
Were you telling jokes?
No, sir.
What were people doing?
We were monitoring, I was monitoring, and Dick and Edward were doing their thing.
Okay. And their thing being monitoring?
Monitoring, yes, sir.
All right. From the time that you crossed the river at 144 until 215, did you get any alerts on your phone?
No, sir.
And from the time that you crossed the river at 114 until the young ladies came up from the bug house, but others have testified it's about 2:30. Did you receive any alerts on your phone?
I don't recall.
Okay. After the young ladies from the bug house came up, first of all, what did they tell you?
They didn't speak to me, they spoke to either Edward or Dick.
And based on whatever they said to Edward or Dick, what did the three of you do?
Well, I believe Edward and Dick went down there first, ascertained what's going on, and they came back.
Okay.
And rain was progressing and getting very hard,
Okay.
raining very hard.
What's the next thing you remember after Edward and Dick came back from Bug House and came back to the office where you were?
A pretty quick decision was made to go back down and in our vehicles, and we all went down in our vehicles and loaded up the girls from the flats.
Okay. Now, we've heard some testimony about Edward receiving a call from Francis Blackwell at the gate. Do you recall that happening?
Yes, sir.
And the court's already got testimony about the time of that. What do you recall about that and the reaction to it?
I recall her calling into the office, and it was an urgent call, and we lost contact with her.
And after that call from Francis Blackwell, when you lost contact with her, was the decision made to begin evacuating down at Bug House?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay. With respect to how that was effectuated, can you tell the judge how many vehicles went down to Bug House on the second trip down there?
3 vehicles.
Okay. And so we've got a clean record. We know that Mr. Eastland had an SUV. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
We know that Edward was driving a pickup truck.
Yes, sir.
And what kind of vehicle were you in?
I was test driving my mom's brand new GMC truck.
That you ruined?
I did.
I'm teasing. You were about to buy it from her, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you were in what kind of vehicle?
GMC pickup.
Okay. So 2 pickup trucks and an SUV.
Yes, sir.
All right. And what do you recall happening at Bug House?
The girls were loading into the vehicles, and Dick told us to take them to the front and go to rec hall.
Okay. Just so that we can get a full record, were you and Dick Eastland and Edward in some sort of argument?
No, sir.
Describe for the judge the temperament of what was happening as those girls were being loaded into 3 different vehicles.
I turned into cop mode and was using a very loud voice to have the girls get up and get into the trucks. And once the trucks were loaded, I drove to the rec hall.
Okay. Were some of the girls still asleep, or are they all up by then?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And approximately what time can you tell us it was that you first made the first trip to rec hall with all these girls?
In between 2:45 and 3.
Okay. And with respect to that timing, what was the weather like at that point?
It was lightning, thunder, and rain.
Okay. In the course of your training at the Houston Police Department, are you all taught about the risks that come with lightning and thunder?
Yes, sir.
What do you know about that?
I was very concerned about kids getting struck by lightning because the storm was on top of us.
Sure.
I never would seen anything like that.
Okay. With respect to the severity of this storm, how would you describe it?
The worst thing that could have ever happened.
After the first load of kids from Bug House, look in and hang out, what's the after you drop them off at the rec hall, what's the next thing you did?
I went down a second time, in my vehicle, and loaded more girls and took them to rec hall.
Did you go down alone, or did the others go down with their vehicles and do it? at the
Yes,
same
sir.
time? And so, first trip was Bug House, look in and hang out, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Second trip was Tumble In 1 and 2 and Jumble House?
I believe so.
Okay. And approximately how long did it take you to pick up the first group from Bug House, look in and hang out, get them all the way to the rec hall, and then come back and get the second group from Tumble In 1 and 2 and Jumble House?
2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. Was everybody successfully evacuated from these 6 cabins? Bug House, look in, hang out, Tumble 1, Tumble 2, and Jumble House?
I believe so.
Okay. And where did you drive? Do you remember which one of the cabins you took the second load of girls from?
No, sir.
Okay. Where did you take those girls during the second load?
To rec hall.
Did you get them all the way to rec hall?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the second load of girls is successfully evacuated to rec hall. What did Glen Yankee do next?
The Edmondson Creek, the water was coming down the road, down this roadway. No, sir. Down the roadway, down the cabins.
Down here?
Yes, sir. The rain was coming off the hill where your arm is right now
Okay.
and flowing down. The river was not an issue. It was water runoff from the hill.
Okay. And what time did you observe with your own eyes that the water that was running from left to right on this map was not coming from the top to the middle from Guadalupe River?
I don't know what time it was.
Okay. Now, to be clear, there's been a lot of press, a lot of plaintiff pleadings saying these cabins were too close to the river. You've read all that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, here's my question. From the standpoint of causation, what actually occurred? Were you able to perceive with your own 2 eyes from where the water was flowing
Yes, sir.
and to where the water was flowing?
Yes, sir.
What time was it that you were at the rec hall the second time, having successfully delivered all the girls from these first 6 cabins?
My timeline's sketchy. I don't remember, but I would say 3:15. I have no idea.
Okay. Whatever time it was, and again, we're testing your memory, and that's fine. Was that the first time that you observed that we didn't have a situation where the water was coming from Guadalupe River, it was coming from Edmondson Creek?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, when you observed that, if the judge could get some idea with respect to the dimensions we're dealing with, you dropped them how close to the rec hall on this second trip?
I dropped them right off at the office. And they
And
walked
what is the
across.
lateral distance between Edmondson Creek and rec hall? Best estimate.
30 yards. So.
Okay. And when you dropped them off the second time, you said approximately 3:15, did you observe the water coming from left to right from Edmondson Creek?
I just noticed that it was raining, and on my second trip, it was significantly different than the first.
Okay. And you observed the direction of the water at that point.
Yes, sir.
And as we go from Edmondson Creek to the right, does that head right towards Twins 1 and 2 and Bubble In?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen the videos that were shot by the Polish workers in the commissary?
Yes, sir.
Does the flow of water that was shot by the Polish workers in the commissary comport with your recollection of the direction the water was coming from?
Yes, sir.
So we have a clear record. Based upon your rational perception, what you saw, was the water that flooded Twins 1 and 2 and Bubble Inn coming from Guadalupe River?
No, it was not.
Based on your rational perception, based on what you saw between 3:15 and 3:30, the water that ultimately submerged Twins 1 and 2 and Bubble Inn was coming from which waterway?
It was coming from Edmondson Creek. And I want to point out, it was going like a tube chute down the road in between the buildings. No, sir, lower the road. That whole road was a wall of water.
Okay. Now, it's kind of hard because we're looking at a two-dimensional map, but this is very much a three-dimensional camp. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
What is the elevation on the left side of the Edmondson Creek?
I have no idea.
Well, is there a way to get to the horse stables?
Yes, sir.
Would that be this road right here?
Yes, sir.
And just so I'm not using pronouns so we have a clean record, that would be the road that's immediately to the left of the front office on our diagram, passes Ag's Attic, carport, up tight, and it goes off the bottom of the map.
Correct.
And then as we go past that road, there are horse stables below the map on the right side, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And Edmondson Creek is immediately on the other side of those horse stables, right?
Correct.
And then what's on the opposite side of Edmondson Creek?
Hill.
How high does that hill go, best estimate?
I have no idea.
Well,
75 feet. It's
okay.
pretty steep.
It's not a one-story hill.
No, sir.
It's not a two-story hill.
No.
If it's 75 feet, it may be as high as a 6 or 7-story building.
Possibly.
Okay. Now, were you able to successfully, after the second trip to the rec hall, get back to the front office?
I was.
Did you go into the front office at that point?
No, sir.
What did you do?
The water was flowing too much. I did not feel that I should drive, so I parked my vehicle way up on a hill next to a birdhouse.
And take me to where Bird
I
House is.
think, yes, sir, right there. I parked my truck way up a steep hill
Okay.
and left my flasher, left it with the hazard lights on, so I had a reference because I'd never seen anything. I experienced things that evening, that morning that I'd never could imagine. You could not imagine this.
All right, so we've got a clean record. I've got my pen on a green square that is the third to the right of the road that we would take to get to the stables, right?
Yes, sir.
And where it says Bird, did you park your car to the right or to the left of Bird on this diagram?
To the right.
To the right? And did you park it as high up the hill as you could?
Yes, sir.
How high up the hill did you
I
get?
parked it as much as I could. There's some steps that go up into the second floor, and I parked my truck up high near that, as far as I could go.
You were trying to save your mother's car, right?
I just wanted to get it out of the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you parked it, what's the next thing you did?
I proceeded to go down to Bubble Inn area. That's where I met Dick and Edward.
Okay. So you parked your car on the right side of Bird, which would be below Handy Hut on our diagram, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you ran towards Bubble Inn.
I ran that right where your pen is where I stopped.
Okay. And what's your best estimate for the time that you got to Bubble Inn?
I have no idea.
Okay, fair enough. You got to Bubble Inn, what did you see?
I could barely hear what Dick was saying. I was right next to Gigglebox, actually, and the plan was for me to get Gigglebox and Wiggle In to Rec Hall, but that was not successful.
Okay. So when you got to Bubble Inn, the noise was so loud you could barely hear anybody talking.
Correct.
Was it raining?
It was.
Was it thundering?
Yes, sir.
Was there lightning everywhere?
Correct.
You get there, you see that Dick Eastland is already there at Bubble Inn. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You said the plan was you were going to go to Gigglebox and Wiggle In. How far did you get?
I got to Gigglebox.
And what did you find when you got to Gigglebox?
I gathered the girls, and we were going to try to walk over to the rec hall.
Okay? And at the time you gathered the girls with an intention to walk over to Rec Hall, did you observe flow from Edmondson Creek towards Bubble Inn, Giggle Box, Twins 1 and 2, that caused you to believe it would not be safe to try to walk it?
Correct.
What did you do instead?
I directed the girls to go into what's called Cricket Corner. I'm not sure if it's on there. It's a small outdoor pavilion.
Okay, and there is an outdoor pavilion. Is it to the left of Chatterbox on this
It's-
diagram?
It's pretty much across from Wiggle Inn.
Okay, that's right where my finger is
Yes,
right
sir.
now? Okay. Did the girls from Giggle Box in fact make it to the outdoor pavilion that's just below Wiggle Inn?
Yes, sir.
And how long did you keep those girls there?
Not long at all.
Less than a minute?
I would say less than 4 minutes,
Why did you move them?
because a wall of water was coming up. And there's little benches, concrete benches. I said, girls, I'll sit down here, y'all stand up, y'all run up the hill, and I'll come get you in 20 minutes when the storm passes, is what I told them. They did not go to Sky High. I found this out just very recently. They stayed where they could see, because I went to Wiggle Inn after that. But all those girls made it up the hill.
And were the girls that made it up the hill from Wiggle Inn?
I'm sorry?
Were the girls that made it up the hill from Wiggle Inn?
No, sir. They were from Giggle Box.
Okay, from Giggle Box? Okay. What did you do next?
I got called by one of the counselors and said, we need help, and obviously I knew that, so I went over there, made my way over there, and the water was very deep.
Where was the counselor who called you that said we need help?
She was on the front porch of Wiggle Inn.
Wiggle Inn's right here?
Yes, sir.
And is that where you went after telling some of the girls to run up the hill?
After the girls were up the hill and safe, I was summoned and I went over to Wiggle Inn.
And was your intention to go to Wiggle Inn and try to evacuate the girls in the same way?
Absolutely.
And what did you see when you got to Wiggle Inn?
I almost didn't make it to Wiggle Inn because the water was so swift.
Now, if you're going from the outdoor pavilion across the road to Wiggle Inn, what's the lateral distance from where you had been with the girls and then decided, after hearing a counselor at Wiggle Inn call, we need help, how far is this?
20 yards.
Okay. Now, pretend for a second I'm on the left side of the court's lectern, and I'm going to walk. Can I do this? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to walk across to the right side. How far is it again?
It's just a street, the width of a street.
The width of the street. Now, the reason I want to walk from the left to the right is so we have a clean record. You're in the witness stand. You're on my left side up from where I'm going. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And as you are going from where you had parked the girls at the outdoor pavilion, hear the screams of the Wiggle Inn people saying, we need help. You're walking from the left side to the right side of the court's dais here, right?
Correct.
All right. And here's my question. When you were walking from the outdoor dais to the Wiggle Inn, from what direction was the water that you physically felt coming?
The water was coming straight down the road.
Okay? When you say straight down the road, would it be from the left side down the road towards the right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how long did it take you to walk from this outdoor pavilion to get to the Wiggle Inn?
Less than a minute.
Okay. And when you were doing it, could you feel the pressure, the force that gave your senses the direction from which the water was coming?
Yes, sir.
And here's my question. Was the water, as you were walking across, coming from your right side from the Guadalupe River because we had these camps too close to the river?
No, sir.
Did you feel the water coming from your right side at all?
No, sir. Not when I was. The water did shift later on.
Okay. But at this point, the water's coming from
From my left.
and you felt it.
Oh, yes.
And give the court some indication of the degree of force that you had to overcome to get across the road as you were going into the Wiggle Inn.
The wall of water nearly knocked me over, and it was it was a very, very significant flow and had a lot of pressure.
And Mr. Yankee, how tall a man are you?
I'm 6 feet.
6 feet?
Yes, sir.
How much did you weigh on July the 4th of 2025? Ballpark.
190.
And it almost knocked you over.
Yes, sir.
But you successfully got to Wiggle Inn.
Correct.
Describe for the court what happened inside of Wiggle Inn at that point.
So most of the girls were outside on the patio because I was going to try to go to rec hall, but quickly ascertained that wasn't going to work. So the water, there's a porch. I wish I had there's a porch, steps, 2 or 3 steps up to the Wiggle Inn porch, and the girls were sitting and getting their Crocs on and getting ready to try to go. And I said, nope, we're not going there. So I literally opened the door and flooded the cabin.
Okay.
And when I did that, I told the girls were standing on the window sills, and I instructed them that we were going to go in there because 6 or 7 of the small air mattresses started floating, and I had the girls get on they did everything I told them to do. They got started floating on, I'm sorry, let me take a breath here.
It's okay.
It's really hard to talk about this.
That's all right. Take it slow. This is not easy stuff. Okay, let me start with another question and then we'll go. You opened the door to flood Wiggle Inn.
Yes, sir.
Approximately how high was the water when you opened that door to tell the girls we're going inside?
It was probably 4 feet.
Okay. The age of the girls in Wiggle Inn was approximately?
9 and 9.
Okay. And this was water that you know almost knocked over a 6-foot, 190-pound man?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the water is 4 feet high, it goes inside Wiggle Inn. What happened next?
All the windows were open because it's not air conditioned. The water was swift inside the cabin, so one of the counselors stayed on the outside of the cabin, and the trunks were hitting me and knocking me over, and they're heavy trunks. I started throwing them out the window so I wouldn't get hurt and knocked over. And when I would throw them out the window, it was like Schlitterbahn tube shoot. It was gone instantly.
Sucked out.
Absolutely.
Okay. What happened next?
So is what I did is I got some metal bed frame. I got trapped underneath, pressed up against the wall at the front of the cabin, and I had to go underwater, lift it was a heavy old mattress on a bed frame, and I moved it over and I kind of positioned it like first base, second base, and third base because the water was over my head. And so I was standing on the bed frames and all the girls were on the flotilla.
Now, I want to ask you about that for a second. Approximately how high off the floor were the girls at when they were standing on the flotilla?
Well, they were sitting on the mattress, on the air mattresses. It was over my head.
Okay.
Over
and you
6
were
feet.
6 feet tall.
Yes, sir, but the building's raised up, so it was much higher.
This is my question. You have been inside Bubble Inn and Twins 1 and 2 as well.
No, sir.
You've never been inside them?
No, sir.
Okay. So you don't know the dimensions or the design of those or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's focus on Wiggle Inn. We're in what looks like kind of a rectangular shaped courtroom with a flat roof. Is that the way Wiggle Inn was?
No, sir.
Okay. Describe for the court what it just so happens the Wiggle Inn architecture had in terms of providing available space above what would be the roof.
It was an A-frame.
Okay. And an A-frame that went up how high?
I have no idea, 20 feet.
Okay. And were there structures between what would have been the normal roof line and the top because it was an A-frame?
I don't believe so.
Okay. It was just airspace?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did that airspace become important?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because the water was flowing through the cabin, and the girls were above me. I was standing on a bed frame, and the water was at my chest.
You've talked to a lot of these girls to try to get an estimate as to how long you all were in Wiggle Inn, right?
Yes, sir.
What's your best estimate? And I know we're not watching clocks or anything like that, as to how long you were in there before it was safe to get out.
I've asked some of the girls, and it ranges from 1 hour and 53 minutes to 2 hours and 22 minutes. And we stayed in there until dawn.
What did you do to comfort these young ladies?
I started telling horribly bad dad jokes, and started talking about A&M in Texas and where'd your dad go to school and things like that. Just to totally, I was terrified that I was going to lose one of those kids. And I felt like if one of them got out, we all would go. It was that bad.
And you already knew that when trunks were pushed out the window, they were sucked out like Schlitterbahn, right?
Yes, sir.
And were you doing your dead level best to keep that from happening to one of the young ladies in Wiggle Inn?
Yes.
Were you successful?
Yes, sir. Those little girls were heroes. They
Tell
did
me about that.
They did everything that I asked them. Kind of after the fact, the girls, when they reunited with their parents, are like, Mr. Glenn said the S word 9 times. And I just did my best to remain calm, and it was a long night. We were getting bit by fire ants, there were spiders, there was debris. I can't explain it, but at one point, while the water was flowing one direction, something happened, and the water switched. So I had to make sure I had to readjust the flotilla to make sure that they wouldn't get sucked out the opposite way, and then it shifted again. And so it was just odd, and I almost thought that was like, I wasn't imagining that. I had to talk to the girls later. Y'all remember when the wall of water came back? And they're like, they do remember that.
Now, you said that you were inside the Wiggle Inn until dawn.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a recollection of what time it was you first started seeing light?
Just whatever time the sun started.
Okay, we can look that up.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do when you started seeing light? Was it safe to go outside?
Some of the girls didn't have shoes on, and the water went down enough to where I could see the grass and the debris. And I'm never been in the military, but I have been at disaster scenes. I've never seen anything like what I saw.
What did you see?
Debris, cedar, patio furnitures from Edward and Mary Liz's house was next to Wiggle Inn. Just cars. One thing I do want to mention is within 20 minutes of us being in the cabin, the girls were like, Mr. Glenn, there goes your truck floating by. And they're like, oh, your mom's going to be mad. But the truck ended up on a telephone pole on the side, and the flashers were helping me. So I was trying to take roll call, and they don't know what roll call is, so I just count heads, and it was a long night.
Mr. Yankee, I think we would all agree you were a hero, and we thank you. When the light came up, what did you do at that point?
I made my way over with the girls. We walked in a straight line because there was glass and everything, and I did not want anybody to get hurt. We made it over to Rec Hall.
Okay.
And I walked in there expecting to see the girls on the ground floor, and they were up there. I'm like, what are y'all doing up there? And then I realized the water had gotten that high. And I know factually the water's never been in that building since it was built.
Okay. When you were evacuating the young ladies to Rec Hall, was it because it was the highest level structure?
That's just where I knew where folks were, and the water had already receded.
Okay. But when you ultimately got the young ladies to Rec Hall after light, you saw nobody down on the bottom floor.
I don't recall if there was anybody down there. They were all upstairs.
Okay. And could you see debris, a so-called water line that told you how high that water had gotten when you weren't in it?
I don't recall seeing a water line, but I do recall the girls telling me how high it got.
Okay. And it got high enough that they all went to the second floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Yankee, at that point, you safely delivered the Wiggle Inn young ladies to the Rec Hall. What's the next thing you did?
I don't really remember. I don't know exactly what I did, but I will tell you, I do know what happened when Mary Liz and Kate were over there. Katie was over there, and they were taking charge. I was in shock, and I was freezing, and the girls were freezing, and I told Katie, she said, what happened over here? And I said, y'all could have had a million different evacuation plans, nothing would have worked.
Mr. Yankee, I don't want to get personal here, but you know what post-traumatic stress disorder is.
Yes, sir.
Based on what you went through, you could self-diagnose yourself as having suffered PTSD, is that right?
Correct.
You've worked hard to get back your psychological well-being, haven't you?
Yes, sir, I have.
And I know this wasn't easy, and I want to thank you on behalf of everybody here for telling us what happened that night. I appreciate your time. Those are all my questions, Judge.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, please.
All right.
Sorry. Sir, you just said that you told some of the Eastlands that they could have had 1 million evacuation plans and none of them would have worked, right?
Correct.
Truth is, they had no evacuation plan.
You keep saying that, that's not true.
Okay, we're gonna go through that. One plan did work though, didn't it?
Yes,
When you told the girls to go up to Sky High, that worked.
it did.
Okay. Now, let's just step back for a second. You seem to have had some emergency training as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, one thing I would like to clear up, were you terminated from Kerr County, or did you retire? What-
Oh, I
what
was
happened?
terminated,
Okay.
yes, because I'm not a yes man.
Okay,
The mayor's on the 6th chief in 4 years, so if you want to talk about that, we can.
just asked you a question.
It's the
Did you
best thing that ever
Okay,
happened to me.
Okay, one person at a time.
So you didn't quit, you were fired?
I was fired.
Okay, with cause?
No, I got unemployment.
Okay. So, you had some emergency training, correct?
Correct.
Prior to July 3rd, to your knowledge, did anyone at Camp Mystic ever identify for you a safe designated muster spot in which to evacuate during a flood?
The plan that I followed was what saved all the girls, and we stayed put in the cabin.
You saved all the girls staying put in the cabin?
This is an unusual event. and it was-
Objection unresponsive.
Okay, that's fine.
You just said the plan you followed was to tell the girls to stay put, and that saved everyone. That was what you said, correct? Yes or no?
I can't answer that.
Seal Stewart was told to stay in her cabin, true?
I have no idea.
She stayed in her cabin, true?
I have no idea.
She's no longer with us, true?
Sadly, yes, sir.
27 children were killed between Twins 1, Twins 2, and Bubba, right?
Yes, sir.
None of them were evacuated, correct?
I do not know.
Then you cannot say that a plan to keep children in their cabins saved every life, can you?
No, sir.
And in fact, isn't it true that at some point you told Dick Eastland to not put children in a car?
I do not know if he heard me.
You said it.
Yeah, I did not bring my car down the 3rd time because the water was coming down from Edmondson Creek.
And because you know, based on your safety training, that when there is high water, at some point you can no longer be in a car and be safe in that water. True?
Yes, sir.
And so you used your judgment and told Dick Eastland, don't use your Tahoe or truck anymore, correct?
I have no idea if he heard me.
Not my question. You told him not to do it, correct?
Possibly, yes.
He did do it, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
We know that he was swept away in that car, correct?
Yes,
We know he died in that car, correct?
yes,
And we know there were children trapped inside with him as well, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
So if the plan was to stay in place, he didn't do that either, did he?
No, sir.
And if, as Mr. Watts said on March 4th, the dumbest or most irresponsible thing you could do in a flood was to try to drive through the water, he did try that, right?
Correct.
And for that reason, children died. Correct?
You know that, yes, sir.
So, let's go back to what I asked you. Prior to July 3rd, were you ever the recipient of training that identified an evacuation muster site in which to take children, or to which to take children, in a flood?
No, sir.
Okay. To your knowledge, was any other staff member trained about an evacuation muster site to which to take children during a flood?
I do not know that.
To your knowledge, was any camper trained in that?
I do not know that.
Was any counselor trained in that?
I do not know.
No one, to your knowledge, ever prepared a camper or counselor about where to go to a safer location if an evacuation order was given. True?
I believe so.
You believe what I said is correct?
Yes, sir. You're correct.
Now, the morning that you're at Bug House and you said you're talking loud, trying to give commands, that's because y'all, prior to going down there or meeting in the office, there was not a specific evacuation plan, was there?
No, sir. It was a very fluid situation.
And the plan was fluid, right?
Correct.
Because you didn't never have one, right?
That is incorrect.
Well, you just said it was fluid. Correct?
Nothing, you can ask all these questions all you want, I'm just gonna let you know. We did everything we could do with the amount of time we had.
Well, you and I aren't going to argue with one another.
I'm not arguing.
I understand that, and I appreciate what you did. So let's go through it, all right? But it is not true that y'all did everything you could do prior to 3 a.m., is it?
I disagree.
Okay, well, let's walk through it. But first, you're going to answer my question, please. When you got to Bug House, you did not have an evacuation plan, correct?
I was following orders
From whom?
from Dick Eastman.
Was Dick Eastland your boss or the Big Three? Because earlier you said it was the Big Three.
You know, I have a lot of bosses out there.
You take instruction from the Big Three?
I do.
They were asleep.
No, they were not.
Did they give you instructions on how to evacuate?
No,
Did they give you instructions on where to take the girls?
no.
Would you have taken them from those young ladies?
Possibly, because they've been there for 12 years.
Were they trained in evacuation?
I have no idea.
Okay. Now, let's talk about what else we could have done. Mr. Medina, can you pull up the map? Yes. So while he's pulling this up, this is something that we showed on March 4th. You were here March 4th, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
Thank you. So this is the layout from Google Earth of the Guadalupe side, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you can see that. We've got some arrows pointing on it, but you can see there's water coming down Bubble Creek, there's water coming on Cypress Creek, and there's water in the South Fork of the Guadalupe, correct? You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you understand that the Guadalupe River side is surrounded by water really on 3 sides, correct?
Okay, yes.
And if you want to escape, if the water's over a road, there, Cypress or Bubblegum, the only 2 routes of escape are out the gate or up a hill, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you testified a moment ago. I'm going to walk you through a short timeline. I want to make sure we understand what was happening. At 1:14 or 1:20 or so, you went over Bubblegum Creek in a golf cart to the office, correct?
Correct.
You said you saw Dick Eastland coming to the office at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, where was he coming from?
His home,
His home. So was he on foot or in a car?
in a vehicle.
You said in 40 years, I believe, we'll make sure I got the date right, that was the first time you had ever seen him do something like that at that time.
In the 4 years that I've been there, 4 years. Yes, sir.
So in 4 years, correct? Yes?
Yes.
That was unusual,
it
correct?
was.
Because Mr. Eastland usually would be asleep at that time, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. So that was your first red flag or unusual sighting that morning. It was unusual for Dick Eastland to be coming into the office around 1:20. True?
True.
Okay. You got a code red alert on your phone, did you not?
Was not monitoring my phone the entire evening, but I was on the golf cart. I was out on the golf cart on the golf course when whatever came across.
It came at 1:14.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
You don't recall seeing it, but you know you
I
got it.
saw it way after the fact.
Okay. Had anyone trained you about what a code red flash flood warning meant?
I know what it means.
Okay. What does it mean?
It means that there's chances of a flood.
That's not what it means. What does it mean?
That there's a threat of flood.
It means that a threat of a life-threatening flood is occurring or imminent. That's what it means, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So had you been paying attention to your phone as a night watchman, you would have known that you were under the threat of a life-threatening flood, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there were 2 red flags. 1, that the county sent to your phone, and 2, that Mr. Eastland was in his office at an unusual hour, correct?
Correct.
Let me step back for a second. If you normally left at 2 a.m. in the morning to go home, who else took over as the night watchman?
There is no one.
So then the camp was just silent, right?
It's silent from taps on.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls are left there while all the supervisory people are asleep after you leave at 2, correct?
Correct. There are adults in every cabin.
They're asleep. Yes?
Yes.
And despite the red flag of Dick Eastland being over at the office, and despite the code red alert, that night, Mr. Eastland said for you to go on home, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you then said that at sometime around 2 o'clock, you didn't think, Mr. Eastland thought you might not be able to leave if you waited too long due to the weather, correct?
Correct.
So that was unusual as well, correct?
Correct.
Had you ever been pinned in or trapped in the camp before?
Yes.
Okay, due to floods or weather?
Just weather.
Okay, so we now know there's 3 things that are unusual this night. That's the 3rd, correct?
Correct.
It's at 2 o'clock, correct?
You know, I have struggled with the timeline from the incident. The only times that I do know are from data from my phone.
Okay, so we know it was generally around 2
It was
o'clock.
in between, yes, sir.
And then we know at 2:21, you took the video of Bubblegum Creek being out of its banks, correct?
Absolutely correct.
And, sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. Sorry, Mr. Carter. You said absolutely correct?
Yes, sir.
And you knew at that point in time, nobody was getting over by foot or vehicle to the Cypress Lake side of the campus, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that no one would be able to get across as well, correct?
Correct.
That's another unusual thing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we've got 4 unusual things at that point in time. Now, you said earlier that no evacuation plan would have worked, correct?
I did.
You are familiar with the loudspeaker system, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this question. If you had gotten on the loudspeaker and said to all campers, we are experiencing multiple unusual events, we need to evacuate to higher ground, would they have known where to go?
I'm sure they would have, yes.
They would have had to guess, correct?
I'm sure they would have known if we said go to higher ground, that all those campers knew where higher ground is.
Okay. What about Seal? She was a first-year camper. Did you know that?
No, sir.
She'd been there for 4 days. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Had she been trained in what higher ground was?
I have no idea.
Did she have your expertise or training?
No, sir.
She's not law enforcement, right?
No, sir.
And you know from being in law enforcement, you had to deal with children, correct?
Not that often.
Well, you have children of your own, right?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
You know that children believe in hierarchical authority, correct?
Correct.
They're told to respect their elders, right?
Yes, sir.
And when they look, these 8-year-olds could read, when they look at a written statement in their cabin that says, stay put, we're going to tell you when to leave or we're going to help you, you know 8-year-olds are going to do what they're told, right?